Cupid wasn't supposed to fall in love. He was supposed to make other people fall in love, but that all changed the moment he laid eyes upon Psyche. This is the uncut story of Cupid and Psyche with all the juicy details you may have never heard before. And so it begins in an unknown kingdom where a king and his three beautiful daughters lived. One daughter in particular was said to be the most beautiful in all the land. Her beauty was so divine, so distinguished that citizens and foreigners alike came to worship her as if she were no other than Venus, Aphrodite herself. Since divine honors were being diverted in this excessive way to the worship of a mortal girl, the anger of the true Venus was fiercely kindled. Venus called upon her son Cupid, also known as Eros, to pierce Psyche with one of his renowned arrows and have her fall hopelessly in love with a vile winged man feared by the gods themselves. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, Psyche's sisters were married off to noble men, while she lamented with lonely desire. No suitors came to woo the beautiful Psyche, and over time, wounded at heart, she came to loathe her beauty which the whole world admired. The king suspected that the gods were hostile, and for this reason he sought the oracle of the Milesian god and begged for a husband for Psyche. The oracle responded, "Adorn this girl, O king, for wedlock dread, and set her on a lofty mountain rock. Renounce all hope that one of mortal stock can be your son-in-law, for she shall wed a fierce, barbaric, snake-like monster. He, flitting on wings aloft, makes all things smart, plaguing each moving thing with torch and dart. Why, Jupiter himself must fearful be. The other gods for him their terror show, and rivers shudder the dark realms below." That night as Psyche slept, Cupid came to do Venus's bidding. However, as he caught a glimpse of the beautiful girl, he fumbled his arrow and struck himself. He immediately fell in love with Psyche. The following morning, something more like a funeral procession and less like a wedding followed. Psyche was left on the peak of a lofty mountain. There she was abandoned to her monstrous fate. Or so she thought. The gentle west wind blew her hair and tugged at her skirts, gently wiping the tears from her face. At once she was lifted lightly by the god Zephyrus, as though on a cloud, and laid softly in a flowered meadow below. She rested for a time and enjoyed the pleasant repose. Once awakened and refreshed from sleep, she explored the meadow, and through a clearing a beautiful castle appeared. When she entered the palace, she was in awe of the ivory ceilings and carved citrus wood, mosaic floors laid only for a god, and walls adorned with paintings of beasts and ornate tapestries. More startling still were the voices, disembodied, urging her not to be frightened that all of this was hers. In the grand dining room, the plates served themselves, and there was even an invisible choir, singing with a lyre, playing so beautifully one would think Orpheus himself were playing it. After the luxurious meal, the voice of her handmaidens urged her to retire and told her that her bridegroom was to arrive very soon. The evening stretched on, and day turned to night. Psyche relented and fell asleep. She was awoken by the gentle touch and soft voice of no other than Cupid himself. Though she could not see him in the dark and was urged by him to not dare a glance, she was pleasantly surprised. This could not be the barbaric, snake-like monster foretold by the oracle. Night after night, Cupid would visit their bedchamber, and Psyche became accustomed to these tender meetings. She soon fell pregnant. Meanwhile, back in the kingdom, her parents were aging in unceasing grief and melancholy. Her elder sisters, distraught with what to do, decided it best to try to find Psyche on the rocky crag in which she was left. Knowing this, Cupid urged Psyche with a warning. "Sweetest Psyche, fond wife that you are, Fortuna grows more savage and threatens you with mortal danger. I charge you, show greater circumspection. Your sisters are worried at the rumor that you are dead, and presently they will come to this rock to search for traces of you. Should you chance to hear their cries of grief, you are not to respond, or even to set eyes on them. Otherwise you will cause me the most painful affliction and bring utter destruction on yourself." Psyche reluctantly agreed. This tormented her, though, and day and night she paced the halls of her lonely palace, now a prison, crying for the company of her sisters, and unable even to offer consoling relief to her sisters, as they grieved for her, sent her to bed in a flood of tears. Cupid relented, but he urged her with repeated warnings from being induced by the sisters to discover her husband's appearance. "Is this how the promise you made me has turned out, Psyche, my dear? What is your husband to expect or to hope from you? You never stop torturing yourself night and day, even when we embrace each other as husband and wife. Very well, have it your own way. Follow your own hell-bound inclination. But when you begin to repent at leisure, remember the sober warning which I gave you." Psyche cautiously rejoiced at the thought of the reunion with her sisters, and had Cupid order Zephyrus to carry them to the meadow, which will lead them to the palace. The three sisters were united and smothered each other in affection. Psyche treated them to the luxury she experienced when she first arrived at the castle. Wine, dinner, extravagant jewels. The shine that initially blinded the sisters with awe began to wear off, and soon they became envious and jealous. As time progressed, the sisters had twice more visited Psyche, but on the third and final visit, they poured poison in her ear, weaving a story about how her husband was a monstrous wild beast, and to remember the oracle's prophecy about her vile betrothed. "Your husband hides his face because he's a monster," they told her. "Tonight, take a lamp and a knife, look at him. If he's a beast, kill him before he eats you." That night after slumber took Cupid, Psyche tiptoed to the bedside with an oil lamp. She leaned over Cupid, revealing the divine god. She stared in astonishment, catching her breath, but in that instant, a single drop of oil fell on his shoulder. He awoke at once, and with hurt and betrayal in his eyes, he fled the castle, leaving a single feather in his wake. The palace disappeared, and the woeful Psyche found herself once again wandering the meadow from whence she came. As she wandered aimlessly and hopelessly about, she came upon the bank of a river close by. She cast herself headlong into the current, hoping to end her suffering. The river god, fearing for himself of Cupid's wrath, rescued her from drowning and placed her gently on the bank below. Psyche was met by the god Pan. He called her gently to him, lovesick and weary as she was, and soothed her with these consoling words. "Do not seek gain to destroy yourself by throwing yourself headlong or by seeking any other means of death. Cease your sorrowing, lay aside your sadness, and instead direct prayers of adoration to Cupid, greatest of gods, and by your caressing attentions win the favor of that wanton and extravagant youth." Meanwhile, Psyche's sisters, thinking that they themselves would woo Cupid after the disgrace of his wife, go back to the mount, convinced they'd be cradled down to the meadow once more by Zephyrus. They leapt from the precipice, but Zephyrus knew what the sisters had intended and let them fall to their death. Psyche grew determined to find her husband and willed to win him back. She walked, searching city to city day and night, when at last she came to Venus's temple. She threw herself on the goddess's mercy, and Venus was thrilled to have her rival groveling, and so she gave her 4 impossible tasks, hoping she'd die trying. She then brought some wheat, poppy seed, chickpeas, lentils, and beans, mixed hopelessly into a huge pile. She demanded Psyche separate the seeds to show what a devoted bride she is. Psyche was overwhelmed with the impossible task and lay helpless on the floor. Just then, a tiny ant crawled by and took pity on her. Soon the whole army of the ant colony marched between piles and had the seeds sorted in no time. Venus returned and sneered, "This is not your work, you foul creature. Little good it will do you or him." The next day, she charged her with another task. Collect the golden wool of the fearsome sheep at the river's edge. Psyche made her way down without any inkling as to how she would complete this task. She was discouraged and morose. Just before the murderous ram caught sight of her, a river reed spoke. "You mustn't approach the savage beasts. Please wait for the cool afternoon. Once they fall asleep, you can collect the fleeced wool from the brambles they've passed." And so she did. Venus, still unmoved, ordered her to fill a vessel with the waters from a dizzily high cliff from where the livid waters of a dark spring tumble down. It's guarded by two snakes, their eyes watchful with unceasing vigil. Just before Psyche could fling herself hopelessly from the pitch of the cliff, Zeus's eagle flew down from the heavens, offering his timely aid. He grabbed the flask and filled it with the icy waters, paying homage to Cupid by helping his wife. Cupid, meanwhile, was locked in Venus's temple, healing from the oil wound and a broken heart. Still, Venus was not content. For the fourth and final task, she ordered Psyche to the gates of hell itself. She hands Psyche a box and tells her to convince Proserpina, the goddess of the underworld, to give her some of her beauty cream. Psyche conceded to the fact that she would probably never return, so she lingered no longer and made for a very high tower. She thought that this was the direct and most glorious route down to the world below, so she intended to throw herself headlong from it. The tower, however, blocked her way, and instead gave her some advice on how to avoid certain death in the underworld. Take 2 coins, one for the ferry there and one for her return. Once you've paid your fare and are in the boat, a dead man will reach for your hand, urging you to pull him to the boat. Do not do it, he will drag you under. An elderly woman will ask for your help with her loom, and you should not help her. All of these are distractions set by Venus to trap you, and have you drop one of the 2 wine-soaked barley cakes you'll carry. Without these cakes, you will never make it past Cerberus into the threshold of the dark hall. Feed him once you arrive, and again for safe passage upon leaving. Of all these injunctions, I urge you particularly to observe this. Do not seek to open or to pry into the box that you will carry, nor be in any way inquisitive about the treasure of divine beauty hidden within it. Armed with this advice, Psyche did indeed make it to Proserpina and told her of her mission from Venus. She took the box, filled it, and sealed it without Psyche seeing it. Once safely above ground, Psyche could not help but let curiosity get the best of her. She opened the box, and instead of there being a beauty salve, it was Stygian sleep, the sleep of death. She collapsed where she stood and lay motionless as a corpse. Cupid, now recovered, fled from the tower where he was held and found his Psyche on the path to Venus's temple. He cradled her in his arms and with a single white feather brushed the sleep from her body back into the box. With this, she awoke and vowed at once to complete the task set upon her. Cupid ascended to Olympus and appealed to Zeus directly on behalf of his wife. Zeus summoned the gods. He scolded Cupid for the chaos, but agreed. The two had suffered enough. He gave Psyche ambrosia, the drink of the gods, making her immortal. Venus could no longer object to a goddess daughter-in-law. Cupid and Psyche were married on Olympus with all the gods attending. Their daughter was born shortly after, and she is named Voluptas, meaning pleasure. The myth is read as the soul's journey. The soul must suffer, be tested, and trust love even when it can't see it, before it can be united with divine love and achieve immortality. Stay tuned for more videos on all things mythological. Like and subscribe.